Welcome back to the channel, you beautiful rebels. Today I'm diving into the most ridiculous, petty, and downright epic battle I've ever fought. No, it's not against a dragon or a rogue AI, or even my neighbor's yappy chihuahua. This is the story of how I went toe-to-toe with my HOA's resident enforcer, let's call her Karen, over a mailbox. A simple, innocent mailbox that became the center of a suburban showdown so absurd, it could only happen in the wild world of homeowners associations. Buckle up, because this is a saga of passive-aggressive notes, psychological warfare, and one very shiny victory. Let's get into it. It all started 6 months ago when I moved into this neighborhood. Picture perfectly manicured lawns, identical beige houses, and an HOA rulebook thicker than a Tolkien novel. I'm a laid-back guy, live and let live, you know? I mow my lawn, I wave at my neighbors, I don't leave flaming bags of dog poop on anyone's porch. I'm basically a model citizen. But I had no idea I was about to step into the crosshairs of Karen, the HOA's self-appointed sheriff. This is the HOA rulebook. It's got 472 pages of regulations on everything from the acceptable shade of your front door, to how many blades of grass can be slightly taller than the others before you're fined into oblivion. Spoiler alert, my mailbox violated Section 17, subsection B, Clause 9. All mailboxes must be colonial white, 18 inches in height, and devoid of personality. When I moved in, my mailbox was a rusty, dented relic from the Reagan era. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I ordered a shiny black, slightly futuristic mailbox with a little red flag that screamed, "I'm here to deliver style." I installed it, stepped back, admired my work, and thought, this is fine. Nobody's gonna care about a mailbox. Oh, how wrong I was. Enter Karen. She's the kind of person who carries a tape measure in her fanny pack, and a grudge in her heart. Karen's the HOA's unofficial enforcer, patrolling the neighborhood like a hawk searching for a rogue dandelion. I first met her when she knocked on my door at 7:03 a.m. on a Saturday. Yes, I checked the time, because who knocks that early unless it's an emergency or you're delivering free donuts? Spoiler. Karen had no donuts. I opened the door, bleary-eyed, coffee in hand, thinking maybe it's a neighbor needing to borrow a lawnmower. Nope. It's Karen in all her khaki-clad glory, holding a clipboard like it's a shield of righteousness. She says, "Excuse me, sir. I'm Karen, HOA compliance officer. I've noticed your mailbox does not conform to regulation standards. It's black." She pauses dramatically, adjusts her glasses, and continues, "The HOA mandates colonial white. You have 48 hours to rectify this violation, or you'll be fined $50 per day." Folks, I'm not proud to admit this, but I laughed. Like full-on belly laughed. I thought she was joking. A fine? For a mailbox? I said, "Karen, with all due respect, it's a mailbox, not a nuclear warhead. It's delivering mail, not starting a revolution." But Karen didn't laugh. Karen doesn't laugh. Her face was like a stone statue, and I swear I saw her write non-compliant attitude on her clipboard. By noon that day, I had my first official HOA violation notice taped to my mailbox. It was printed on bright yellow paper, like a warning for radioactive waste. It read, "Non-compliant mailbox color and design. Immediate action required." Immediate action? Oh, Karen, you just poked the bear. At this point, I had two choices. Comply like a good little suburban drone and paint my mailbox colonial white, or lean into the chaos. Guess which one I picked? I decided to fight fire with pettiness. But I wasn't going to stoop to Karen's level with yelling matches or legal threats. No, no, no. I was going to outsmart her with the most infuriatingly compliant rebellion she'd ever seen. My first move was research. I dove into the HOA rulebook like it was the Da Vinci Code. I found every loophole, every vague phrase, every opportunity to mess with Karen while staying technically compliant. The rulebook said the mailbox had to be colonial white, 18 inches tall, and in keeping with the aesthetic of the community. That last part? That was my golden ticket. Aesthetic is subjective, baby. So I bought a can of colonial white spray paint. Not just any colonial white, the exact shade specified in the HOA's color chart, Pantone 11-0602. I painted my mailbox, but I didn't stop there. Oh no. I painted it colonial white, in a polka dot pattern. Big, bold, in-your-face polka dots. Technically compliant, but so obnoxious it would make Karen's clipboard tremble. I waited until midnight to paint the mailbox, partly because I didn't want Karen to see me, and partly because it felt like a covert operation. By morning, my mailbox was a glorious polka-dotted masterpiece. It was colonial white, it was 18 inches tall, and it was fabulous. I stepped back, admired my work, and waited for the fireworks. Karen showed up at 7:15 a.m., right on schedule. I was watching from my window, sipping coffee like a supervillain. She stopped dead in her tracks, stared at the mailbox, and I swear her left eye twitched. She pulled out her tape measure, checked the height, 18 inches on the dot. She pulled out her color swatch, colonial white confirmed. But those polka dots? They were her kryptonite. She says, This is unacceptable. The polka dots are not in keeping with the community aesthetic. You'll hear from the HOA board about this. I just waved and shouted, Have a great day, Karen. I knew I had her. The rulebook didn't say anything about patterns. I was compliant and she hated it. That's when I realized. This wasn't just about a mailbox anymore. This was war. Over the next 2 weeks, Karen upped her game. I got 3 more violation notices, each more desperate than the last. One claimed my polka dots were disruptive to neighborhood harmony. Another said they were causing undue attention. The third just said, Please stop. I framed that one. I decided to double down. I added a tiny American flag to the mailbox, tasteful, patriotic, and most importantly, not mentioned anywhere in the rulebook. Then I started leaving little notes for Karen on the mailbox like, Hope you love the new look. And polka dots are the new black. I wasn't breaking any rules, but I was definitely breaking her spirit. Here's where I got really petty. I started inviting my neighbors over to admire the mailbox. I casually mentioned how much I loved the polka dots and how they were technically compliant. Most of my neighbors thought it was hilarious. One guy, Dave from across the street, started calling it the Polka Dot Palace. Karen was losing her grip on the neighborhood, and I was loving every second of it. Things came to a head at the next HOA board meeting. Karen had submitted a formal complaint, and I was summoned to defend my mailbox. I walked in like I was starring in a courtroom drama, ready to plead my case. The board was 5 people, all looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Karen was there, clutching her clipboard like it was her lifeline. I said, Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I stand before you as a humble homeowner who loves his community. My mailbox is colonial white, 18 inches tall and fully functional. The polka dots? A creative expression of my individuality, as permitted by the vague wording of Section 17, subsection B, Clause 9. If you rule against my mailbox, you're ruling against freedom, creativity, and the American dream. The board was eating it up. One guy was trying not to laugh. Karen, meanwhile, was turning redder than a stop sign. She argued that my mailbox was disruptive and unprofessional, but she couldn't point to a single rule I'd broken. The board deliberated for about 5 minutes before ruling in my favor. Karen stormed out, and I swear I heard her mutter, This isn't over. I could have stopped there. I'd won. But I'm a content creator, and I knew this story needed a grand finale. So, I ordered a custom mailbox topper, a tiny, colonial white statue of a bald eagle holding a letter in its beak. It was majestic, it was ridiculous, and it was 100% compliant. I installed it the day before Karen's next patrol. When Karen saw the eagle, she froze. I was watching from my window again, and I swear she looked like she was about to cry. She took one last measurement, checked her color swatch, and then she walked away. No clipboard, no violation notice, no nothing. I'd done it. I'd broken her. And that, my friends, is the story of how I turned a $50 mailbox into the greatest rebellion this HOA has ever seen. Karen hasn't bothered me since. Rumor has it she's focusing her energy on someone's slightly too tall hedges now. My mailbox still stands, polka dots and eagle topper shining bright. A beacon of petty victory. The best part? My mailbox has become a neighborhood legend. People stop by to take pictures. Dave from across the street started painting his mailbox in stripes, and another neighbor added a flamingo topper. We're starting a revolution, one mailbox at a time. So what's the moral of this story? Sometimes the best way to fight petty rules is with even pettier compliance. If you've got an HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. I want to hear all about it. And if you enjoyed this saga, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more tales of suburban rebellion. Until next time, keep your mailboxes shiny and your spirits rebellious. Peace out.